So let's move to crimes involving mentally ill people. Recently, his name is Adam Garcia.
Yeah, rest in peace.
Rest in peace, right? Prayers for the family. Who was a McDonald's worker, got fatally stabbed.
I woke up to that. That broke my heart when I woke up. I was like, oh, I feel for that family.
You're just trying to work.
Horrible.
You're trying to work, and you get, you obviously not expecting something like that to happen.
To go to work and yeah.
You know, but you know what? I'm looking up the information, and there's no description as to what, always like when you see like those viral videos and there's a fight, I always want to know, okay, what was going on before? There's nothing that they don't say what, and I'm not justifying it, but there's no information as to what happened.
And I remember hearing that it was outside of the parking lot that it happened. It didn't happen in the McDonald's.
Yes. So he got away, I guess, because he got identified through a video. Like somebody was like, oh, I know him. This is the guy. They reported him. And then he went to the precinct with a lawyer, and then went to the judge, and when he was being questioned by the judge, was making like these really weird, like, I have to make a confession. I have to, like, he was just acting really abnormal. So the guy was like, you need to get a psychiatric examination.
Yeah, but
something's going on.
I worry about that sometimes because a lot of people are quick to commit crimes and hurt someone and then use it as mental disability. Claim insanity to get away with it. So like, how do you
That's what I was saying. How do you measure it?
Mm-hmm.
It's tough.
You gotta get an exam, I guess.
If he had a serious mental illness that would prevent him from having all reason and logic pass through his brain most of the time, he wouldn't have gotten a lawyer.
Yeah, exactly. So that shows that he had logic there.
Oh, well, yeah, he's obviously trying to cut his sentence as much as he can by claiming insanity with a lawyer to shorten whatever time he has and possibly not even do prison time.
Oh, well, okay, well, yeah, because he always has some sense.
I think my opinion is that
how do we deal? Because this happened to us. I'm saying us. Something happened in our restaurant. Somebody that we know, one of the patrons, actually got slashed in the face by a mentally disturbed person. This is why this topic came up, because I was like, well, how do we deal with this?
The guy who was recently slashing people.
Was that the one?
It was the same person. There was another person at the bar that was like, he's crazy, So it's like, how do you deal with mentally disturbed people? Are they held accountable at the same level, or
is he really crazy, or is he just someone who has something for attractive women? Because did he ever slice? Well, no, maybe he's never been able to get a pretty girlfriend, or any pretty girl he's ever approached, he's been rejected.
Well, that's psychological.
So
that's still a psychological problem.
Well, that was the same thing with that guy.
The guy, somebody else at the bar was saying that he wants to go back to jail, and this is the reason why he's doing it.
Yeah, that too. I thought that too, because
this is like 32 counts of.
I have grown up and seen people where they're like, "Oh, it's the winter time to go back in jail, and I'll be out for the summer," and career criminals. That's all they know.
Wow, that's insane.
They can't come out and get a job, so in the summertime they're fine being out because it's hot outside. They could sleep in the park bench if they want. But in the wintertime, it's cold, and they, 3 meals a day, which is another topic we'll probably bring up, is our prison system and how criminals.
It's a system. It's a.
Yeah, but they're treated better than our
kids in school. So what do you think, how should we deal with mentally disturbed people?
I think there needs to be definitely a reform with health insurances and how they approach mental like people with mental problems. Like, I know that when they do find somebody with a mental, you can only get like 5 psychiatric visits a year.
year?
Or I don't know the exact number, but they do put a number on it, which is ridiculous. Because if someone has a mental condition and they're having an episode and they need to go run to see their psychiatrist, they shouldn't be able to. The insurance shouldn't be saying, "Oh, you can't go see them."
I think the biggest problem is the fact that the institutions are separated before the process of choosing where they go. So let's say I say I murdered someone, let's say, right? I show up to court. I plea insanity. I'm insane. There's a flow chart. You either go to the ward or you go to the prison ward. You go to the mental ward or the prison ward. You go to one of the two. These are two separate institutions. So I'm choosing this because I just don't want prison life, but I can alter where I go at this point before they choose where I go. If I murdered someone, my personal opinion is, regardless of mental health, you go to the prison ward. If there is an institution within the prison ward, which I'm pretty sure they have
psychiatrists, yeah.
If the system makes them go through prison to get to a psychiatrist in prison, then there and only there do they have them in custody. They have them where they can actually control someone who just murdered someone, and they can actually try to help them mentally. The problem is that they separate it early on. It separates right before they actually go to prison.
So they're in control. They're like,
so they're a bit more in control because they can lie.
So what I'm thinking is that you should be dealing with it. It's kind of like a prevention mentality. So we're not going to deal with this when you commit the crime. Mm-hmm. How about we deal with this before anything happens? So to me, in an ideal world,
preventive.
It's more preventive. Like, you have a problem. I think people. I told her earlier. I was like, when you commit a crime, you have a PO. You have somebody that's on your ass. Like, what's going on with you? I don't know if mental ill individuals have somebody that they.
That's where I'll jump in and say the hardest thing, and I think the biggest problem that we have is who's gonna admit to having a mental problem. Like, for me, I have depression. I have OCD. I'm admitting it. I'm not ashamed of it. I own it. But there aren't many people out there willing to admit that, especially to the world.
Yeah.
I think on the contrary.
And you have to be able to admit you have a problem in order to get help. It's like drug addiction. You have to be able to admit that you have an addiction before, if you never admit it, you can never.
But if somebody's mentally ill, how do they even know that?
But
that's a good point too. Exactly.
There's a flow chart for this as well.
So a flow chart. I'm confused.
It's a chart that obviously the doctors look at it and it's like, okay, check.
A flow chart is
you're here.
So flow chart
is it like when you read GQ and it's like, do you want to watch Netflix, and then it has like a bunch of arrows?
Yeah. Yes and no, right? So
no, I don't want to watch a romantic comedy. No. And then
so do you still want to chill like that?
Okay, I got you.
So basically, right? Mm-hmm. I will never know why some people just like to hurt other people, and it may not even be people who are hurt. It may be people who are privileged. There are people who are privileged who are hurting other people.
Sadist masochism? Would you say there's
we can try to segment them off and say that they're this type of person, but at the end of the day, this is something that they enjoy doing, and it doesn't sound like a mental illness to me. It sounds like somebody who's just not willing to follow the rules that we all set in order to live.
Wow. And that's validation. It's like a lot of different things. You know?
Yeah, like I understand that it can be. It's really not black and white.
It's multifaceted.
There's a huge gray area with all of this. But there are people who enjoy murdering, and they don't consider themselves crazy.
And
that's the definition of crazy. Like you cutting a piece of cake and cutting a person to you is the same thing. You don't have any kind of emotion. So that is the definition of a mentally ill, especially what's it when you kill somebody? A psycho.
I wouldn't consider that
a psychopath. Right, psychopath. Is you don't feel a difference between that and that. It's just the same thing.
Well,
to them it is black and white.
I don't know if I consider that mental illness, because that goes to the much deeper roots of what's good and evil, what's right and wrong.
You don't think some people are just born? I think some people are just born with not evil, but like I'm born gay. It's just something in my system that is just that I can't.
But that's what I'm saying.
I can't deal with it. So there's something in you, or to me, it's like.
But are you trying to fight it?
No, I didn't try to fight it. I embraced it.
Dude,
serial killers born
in the early 60s, 70s,
are just born crazy like that.
In the 60s, 70s, you would have been considered crazy.
Of course. Mm-hmm. Of course. No, I know that.
Do you think you're crazy?
I don't think I'm crazy.
Do I think you're crazy?
But me being gay doesn't mean I'm trying.
Sorry.
don't think you're crazy. No.
Me being gay, I'm not trying to kill.
No, that's
anybody.
against the social norm. You're going against what people believe is right and
But the
wrong.
social norm is not killing somebody. You know what I mean?
Well, let's say that. All right, then we shouldn't be killing animals to eat them.
But then who's to
Right?
say what's
I'm a
crazy
vegetarian.
But
But who's to say what's crazy and what's not?
But that's-
Because what's crazy for a spider
It's
is
more-
not crazy for
but that's a much
the
more moral- it's
fish
moral.
and stuff.
It's a much deeper,
Right, the animal that's killing
thing.
us
And like
survival.
These are things that people still have, philosophers still have discussions over it. It's just
Yeah.
we will never know.
Yeah.
But the problem is that we're considering them crazy because they're not doing what we're doing.
Exactly.
So why are we giving them better treatment than a murderer who knows what he did? The murderer who knows what he did and accepts it and wants to keep doing it
because
is just as bad as the one
If
who
you're
did.
crazy and if you're crazy is I like to kiss fish. And that's your business. That's your
You're not
crazy.
hurting no one,
You're not
though.
hurting anybody.
It's so
Right.
you're not.
It's
There's
when
no
you
victim.
right. When you're going to somebody else and you're like some crazy people, they get up on having sex with kids. You know, you're invading somebody else's like space and
Yes.
their own. Like you're inflicting pain on somebody
on
else.
someone
If you're
else.
crazy as I like to cut myself. That's your
That's
crazy,
your
and that's
pain
your
on
own.
yourself.
That's yourself.
Of
and
course.
still, even people that might be committed to.
I agree that that's wrong. I totally agree that
No,
that's
but I know
wrong.
what you're saying. You're saying
But-
like, how do you define?
Yeah, like there's no way to really treat them any better or to give them a different route because they're doing what they know they did. They know they just murdered someone, and if they do it again, guess what? They know they did it that time too. The reason
Well,
they
murder
did
is
it-
murder. You're getting looked up.
What
I
was
mean,
what
it's
was the
more-
impulse? No, because there are people who are murdering and claiming insanity and then going an alternate route.